Did you watch the table tennis? Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah, table tennis, that's right. We play ping pong, they play table tennis. They play crazy. Oh, I couldn't even keep an eye on the ball, much less be able to hit it.
The water tastes good.
Obviously, you spilled it everywhere, fellas.
I know, I gotta wipe it off. Excuse me.
I would like to point out that I am 2 minutes early
I
to
know
this
that.
meeting.
I was. That's why we're waiting so
Shocking for
long. We're all
everyone.
shocked.
I was thinking that the mayor was late, I was like, we can't start the meeting. Bob walks in and we start.
It's been a lazy day. I don't like lazy days.
It's hard to do much in these days.
I didn't do anything. Nothing. A little book, big deal.
There it is, there it is.
I think I'm gonna get another job, Bob.
Here, here.
Have you been working at CVB much?
No, it's been so slow, they haven't needed me. At least that's their excuse.
All right. Good evening, folks. It's 5:30. I'm going to call this August 1st, 2024 Board of Aldermen meeting to order. If you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Oosting,
Here.
Alderman Burrows,
Here,
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Rucker,
Here.
Alderman Varela. Here. Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Mayor Harmison.
Here. All right, we're going to start off with citizens' communication. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens' communication of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. As the board had a chance to look at the minutes from the Board of Aldermen meeting July 18th, 2024, July 9th, 2024, June 28th, 2024, Board of Aldermen meeting, the bills list August 1st, 2024, and Alderman Hoffman is a liquor license renewal for a quick stop in order.
It is.
All right, anybody have any comments or questions on any of those items? Alderman Rucker.
2 items. One, the corrections I talked to you about, Tara.
Yes, they are.
Okay, number 1. Number 2, I noticed we're missing a set of minutes. Is that going to be at our next meeting?
What's that? Was
We
that
have
one?
not approved July 17th meeting minutes.
No, they will be on there. Thank you. I forgot we had one. We've had so many meetings, I forget which ones we're doing anymore. But you're correct. Yes, July will be on. Thank you.
All right.
That's all I have.
With those corrections, if I don't see any other, do I have an approval of the consent agenda? Motion to approve, excuse me.
Motion to
Alderman
approve.
Hoffman. Do I have a second? Alderman Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the consent agenda has been approved. All right, first item of business, unfinished, is Bill 24-49, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Construction Concept Corporation for the park bathroom project for an amount not to exceed $156,897. This is the second reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and the members of the board. I have nothing to add and happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Before we get to questions, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2 cents worth. I have been talking with Alderman Ross on this, and then brief conversations with Alderman Hoffman. And then later this afternoon, I had a conversation with Mike and Eric and Drew, and I had a lot of questions about this. So I asked them, and I'm just going to give you my opinion first. After looking at all of this and understanding all of the things, I just want to tell you that I am in full support of this. Here's the questions that I ask. It's about $157,000, and the question I had was, for the sewer system itself, how much would that cost? And I know that they were thinking about $25,000 if a third party actually did the work. Now, if we did that, it sounds like we could do it for about half. However, that'd be late fall, maybe early in the winter, and that would take our workers away from doing the other stuff that they should be doing, in my opinion. The materials, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, are about $60,000.
Yeah, that was my rough back of the napkin estimate.
Just to do the project. And then taking the 157 minus those two figures at $85,000, that gives us about $75,000 paid to Construction Concepts to do their job, to earn a profit. They would be paying all of their own liability insurance and so forth. Now, looking at this further, the problem I had too is, okay, that's a lot of money, and this was bid out 3 times in the last year and a half. We've had bids of 205, we had bids of close to 200. And while this is over budget, it's still in 3 years, we've had basically one person come in that said they could do that at this price. The previous bids were over $200,000. Another thing I started looking at, and I was talking to Carrie a little bit this afternoon too, when I was looking at this, the sewer running the line to where the new bathroom would be is pretty necessary for expanded growth. You run that line down there, as the ballpark continues to grow, maybe you need a second concession stand, maybe you need a bigger bathroom, maybe you need something for the dog park, whatever. But running a line is something that obviously should be done. And then also, I went into just a show of support for the people that work down there. I mean, right now, if somebody gets some sort of chemicals on them, they have a garden hose. I would like the fact that if they have a problem, they can go take a shower, get the stuff cleaned off of them, get changed adequately. And you know, we live in a place that we expect people to come and have a great time. We take care of the ballparks, and quite frankly, the workers have to drive half a mile just to go to the restroom. So I believe this is something that I can fully support after looking at all that, and I understand Alderman Ross' concerns. I had even said to Alderman Ross, I mean, heck, I mean, you know, there's a lot of homes around here that aren't $157,000. And so you're like, wow, for a bathroom, is it really necessary? But in this case, I really think it is. If we were not to approve this tonight, if we were to put this on hold tonight, this wouldn't get done till maybe next year sometime. The workers would have to continue to go to the restroom a half a mile away. We could have an accident between now and then. So I just feel as though I wanted to speak my mind, because I've talked to both sides. I've had reserves on both sides. But I really feel that show of support to our workers and for the safety that I'm in favor of this. So I've spoke my piece. It's a board decision, but I just want to know how I felt after talking to everybody. So with that, do I have any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
Guess I'm starting this battle. I've got questions and some comments. First of all, for Mr. Welty. In a perfect world, if we were to approve the second reading this evening, can you give us a time frame on when the work on this project would begin and when the estimated date of completion would be?
I believe that the project has a 60-day requirement attached to it, but I think the work can be done quicker than that. Paperwork would probably take a week, maybe 2, if everything worked out right. There's no reason why by the 3rd week of August they couldn't be breaking ground. And by the time we get to Fall Fest, which is what, the 12th of October, I would think that we would be at a point where we would be probably issuing them substantial completion notice.
Okay. So
maybe a
basically
few things that need to be shored up, but pretty close to done by mid to late October.
So basically October completion date.
I mean, again, that's just my guess.
I understand, it's a guesstimation. Okay, so keeping that in mind, so if, which has been discussed, if we were to table this motion this evening, then once again, we are revising the scope of work, which would require us to rebid the project. Can someone remind me what is the governed timeframe we must have active bids out there for any projects from the city?
We are required by ordinance to have have it out for 15 days. I usually like to do 21 just to make sure that we give contractors an adequate amount of time, but we don't necessarily have to do that, although I will state that the last time we did it for 21 days, on this one, and we sent the bid to 20 different contractors, and I got 2 responses. So, so once we get those bids back, obviously, then we have to come back to the board. And I know that the board, I know how important this is to the board, so we could probably do first and second together in that case. But even if we did that, you're talking awarding it in, what, October? Right? Because that'll take, everything we just said will take, well, maybe mid-September.
Or October, correct.
And so if we did it that way, then it would almost certainly at least partially carry over, unless we have like a really warm, late fall. I guess it's possible it could still get done this year, but it would add a couple of months to the project for sure, sir.
So tabling the motion then will basically kick this can down the road with a start date sometime in early winter. And as we well know, construction in the winter, especially if there's groundbreaking and sewer lines that need to be ran, are going to be up to basically weather conditions. So what I'm leading with all this is this project has been on our agenda for over 18 months. So basically our park staff that work out of that facility for 2 seasons now have not had a restroom facility, which in my mind is a basic, I don't want to say right, but is basically facilities we as a city should be providing them. I am all about good governing. I'm all about cutting costs. And actually, when I looked at this again, I thought, you know what, maybe we should table this. We could probably whittle out some costs. But the more I look at it, the more I thought, you know what we're looking to cut doesn't make any sense, especially in light that there are now female employees in our parks department. And I don't want to get into specific restroom usage, but there is a big difference in a restroom with a single toilet used by males and females and a restroom facility with a toilet and a urinal used by males and females. That put a different perspective on it for me, because women, once again, I don't want to get into bathroom talk, but women using a facility is different than men using a facility. So in my mind, I kept thinking, well, we can probably cut out a sink. We can probably cut out the urinal. But wait a minute, I don't think that that is fair or equal to the usage for males and females for the bathroom facilities. I still, and I've said this previously, find it appalling that we are in our 2nd season that we are still debating this, and we have employees that do not have a basic restroom facility at their use. That is unheard of, and that basically, I think, looks bad on us as a city and as a board. So that was one of my concerns, because I was initially all for, let's table this. Let's see if we can cut some costs. But at some point, it's not about the cost, it's about the benefit. It is about basically providing basic usage and basic facilities for our employees, and cost be damned. So yes, we can go ahead and table this. We can get this out for bid again. We can push this down the road for a couple months, but to save how much money with no guarantees? So I think it's appalling that we're even debating moving this or tabling this issue down the road, because once again, I think we have failed our employees by not passing something regarding this sooner. That's it.
Alderman Rose.
I too have vacillated back and forth because it is a lot of money, and probably more than what we have ever thought about budgeting for a restroom. But just like Bob has alluded to, it's been a lot of time, and it is embarrassing for the city not to have some provisions there for our employees. My first thought was, well, if we tabled it, would there be any difference or less cost? Is there any difference in running the lines? I mean, I have no clue with the lines that need to be run, but I have to put trust in our engineers that they did the best spot and the best location to try to make it the most lucrative way to add it on. So I'm not in favor of tabling it. I say, let's move forward. I want to get this done, especially before any more time goes on. Thank you.
Alderman Ross.
So I will tell you that the comment that was stuck out to me last week or last meeting was there's a lot of hesitant yeses, okay? And as I thought more and more about that, it's like, we should do the right thing here, okay? Well, the right thing is that we lost a lot of opportunities to do the right thing because we didn't gain alignment, okay? And we didn't look at options. We just decided, and I know some people will argue with me, that we're going to build a Cadillac and you guys can take it or leave it. We didn't have an option for a good Ford or Chevy, in my mind. But let me get into a few details. The sewer line, I'm not sure what, I understood your comments, Mr. Mayor, but the sewer line runs 75 feet from, or 70 or 75 feet from the center of the building. We're not adding any sewer line capacity that is going to be, in my mind, be able to be utilized in the future, okay? The sewer line is, I thought it was a long way away too originally, but I learned myself it's awful doggone close, to be quite honest. It's probably 30 foot away or less from where the edge of this building will end up being. So I don't think there's an additional capacity. I just think that I realize that this has been going on for 2 years, and I'm, probably going to be one of the only minority here. But I just don't think it's a good use of funds because we have, and I think it's about process more than the use of funds. If the only way, I walked into the parks, Eric can admit or confirm, I walked down there wasn't water, let alone a bathroom. There wasn't water, okay? And a year or so ago, I was waving a flag and screaming at Mike, and I don't know that I got to Zach, but I knew, we talked about his capability, and it took 3 months to get water down there, and I thought it should have been there in 2 weeks, okay? So I'm all for water in a bathroom. There's never been a concern about that, but the question is, at what cost, okay? And I'm sorry, Bob, but I can't do with cost be damned. I'll never get there. But at the end of the day, it's about the right cost and the right value. And all I can tell you is it's a 193 square foot bathroom, and I have a bathroom that has a toilet and a shower and a corner tub and a double vanity, and it ain't 193 square feet, okay? And so I think somebody made a comment, my master bedroom isn't that big, okay? And so at the end of the day, I don't think that we've taken the right approach to be effective and efficient with the public's dollars. And as much as I want to get the bathrooms to the parks, I just don't think this is the right approach, and I'll be done.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Hoffman.
Well, if we're going to save $12,000, $13,000 by using our guys, I think we should. We talked earlier today in our meeting with Drew and Eric and Mike, and they seem to think that we can do it ourselves, that part of it. And if we're going to save just that amount of money, I think it's worth it. I do think it's a little over-designed, but not a lot over-designed. And Bob makes a good point that this has been kicked down the road a lot, and I'm a little worried that I would like to table it because after talking to Drew today, I think we probably could save some money on this thing. But I am worried about how far it's going to push it, and I don't want it to get into the winter time. So I'm really, really on the fence on the tabling part of it. As far as supporting the project, I'm all in on that. So that's kind of it for me.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Well,
Alderman Barilla.
I'm all for the bathroom. I think they need it. And I think $150,000 for a bathroom is just a little bit crazy. But I guess what I'm struggling with is our problems are the bids. And if we put it back out to bid, is that going to be any different? So I guess
Mike.
that's just my thoughts.
Well, just, if I could just start with, just to address a comment that Alderman Hoffman made. We did have a nice meeting this afternoon. And
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman is right. If the board wanted to, I don't think tabling is the right thing. If the board wanted to vote this down and have us move forward, Zach and his crew have a lot of the parts on hand. We could save some money that way, and you could order what you needed. And we could probably put the sewer station and the sewer line in, connect it through the creek there, and have that ready to go. But we would still not be able to bid this out until late in the fall, and it would still end up having to take us, we would still look at having to do it in the spring. So if you lose it today, I think it's very unlikely that we get it done this year. If that's what the board wants us to do, we'll try our best to get it done this year, but I just don't think that is feasible. And then to address your comment, Celeste, I mean, we've bid this out 3 times. The first time we got 1 bid. The second time we got 1 bid. And then this last time we did get the 2 bids. And this last time we sent the bids out to like 20 different contractors, and we only got 2 bids back. So I would not be confident that we're going to get any more than the bids that we've received so far, ma'am.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, Mike, I have to disagree with the statement. I think you're indicating we wouldn't be able to put it out to bid till late this fall. Just because we are doing the sewer and the water line or the sewer line, we could still put it out to bid in 2 weeks. Okay? And we just tell them where the sewer line is going to terminate at. So to them, as far as I'm concerned, if we table it, or vote it down, and then we have to redesign the bathroom, it all depends on how quickly we can get the bathroom redesigned, and where it would go. So I just wanted to clarify that opinion. But even with that being said, I am not in favor of tabling it. I am in favor of the project. And a couple of comments. First of all, we talk about having our Public Works crew perform the work and save us that money. Some of you I know weren't here, but let me tell you what. A number of years ago, we had a Public Works Department that said, yeah, we can do this, and we can do all this. And our Public Works Department got into a lot more of construction work, as far as I'm concerned and the way I define it, rather than maintenance work. We have a maintenance crew, and we have maintenance for water and sewer. That's what we do. We do maintenance. We don't do the construction other than to we repair it. And I realize when you repair something, you are putting stuff in new, but that's not. We got into doing a lot of the construction because it was brought up we could save money. Yeah, we did. We saved some money. And guess what? We are still behind. We're behind on sewer, and I don't know about transportation. I believe they're probably okie-dokie, maybe, but definitely we're behind on sewer. We're way behind on sewer. We need more employees in sewer. Even though we're almost full, if not full, we don't, as far as I'm concerned, we need a lot more staff to provide the maintenance program, and now we're going to take away some of that staff to perform this so that we can save some money on that. We're not into that business. I wish we were able to do a lot more of a city construction. I wish we had the capability because we could save some money, but we are behind on maintenance, and that's where I have a problem utilizing our people. The money that we're going to have to spend on this project, if we end up doing it, and what we say there, we still have the footprint. And just for my clarification, and I want to make sure, is the restroom facility going inside the existing facility, or is there a additional space being added outside the existing building?
It's an add-on.
Okay, right. So I don't have any problem with that, because as far as I'm concerned, when I went down there and I took a trip down there to kind of look and peek around here recently, you're taking away, if you're gonna put it inside the building, you're gonna save some money, yeah, but we're taking away space. Space that we're utilizing for the storage of equipment, for working on equipment. And so, we have to understand that. It's not the fact that the bathroom's costing us $156,000 or $55 or whatever it is. We are adding additional space, additional building space. So, yeah, we could save some money by putting it inside the building, but then we're taking away space inside the building. And then where are we going to be there? I think it's important that we have a place for our equipment to be stored inside and to work inside. So it's not just the building or just the cost for that. So I would like to have seen this thing be a little bit cheaper, but I also think that, it is what it is. The other thing is, and I had conversations with Alderman Ross on this, and I will have to say that I echo this. We need to learn from this, staff. Identify staff. We need to learn from the staff. We don't need to be going into a project and just going down the road and just doing one way. We should have identified the fact that this was as expensive as it was going to be, and to see if there was other alternative. The only thing I will say on this project, I don't know that there is alternatives, because the only alternative I see is making it smaller, and I don't know that you can make it much smaller when you provide all the needed facilities that should be in there, in a restroom with the shower and et cetera, and all the space that needs to be in there, and have the proper space we need. The only way that I see us saving money on this thing is bringing it in-house, and I'm definitely opposed to that, because I didn't realize that until just today. I started thinking, wait a second, that's the only way we're going to do that is bringing it inside the building. And I think we're losing valuable storage space and space that we need to have there. So I just asked on future projects, and while I'm on the roll, the other project I'm thinking about that would have been nice to have some input would have been Osage Beach Road. Would have been nice for us to have said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the sidewalk down one side, and then we're going to go down the other side, and but here's a way we can maybe save some money. And so that's what I'm kind of looking at. And I realize that's off the subject of this, but that's just my example. Let's just think about those things, and if you got to come back to the board and say, hey, here's some options on some of these projects. At least in this one, I think we could have looked at them, but I don't think there is any other option. I think we would have still stood on this. So I've said my piece. Thank you.
Mike, do you have something else?
Yeah, I just want to address Alderman Rucker's comment real quick. We absolutely could bid this out in a couple weeks, but over the last several years, Dave Van Leer and I have found that if we bid things like this out in the July, August, September timeframe, we get gouged time and time again. So that's the only reason I said that, sir, is because I think that we would get a better price if we waited a little later.
Yeah,
I just want to make that comment.
That's totally correct. I was just talking from a timetable, but you are 100% correct on that.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Osteen.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify a few things that I said. I agree with the entire board that this was an overbid. The cost is exorbitant, and I will agree with that. And I'm sure there are ways to cut corners. But our savings are predicated by telling our park staff that, look, we want to cut some corners, we want to save some costs. In the meantime, if you got to go to the bathroom, go behind the building and whip it out. That, once again, I'm looking at this more philosophical than most, I believe, because that to me is basically a punch in the face for us as a board and as a city. That basically, to save money, that's what we're going to tell our employees to continue to do, especially in regards to the female employees. And I can't stress enough, once again, that when I looked at the scope of work on this, and one of the first things I thought was they do not need a urinal, they do not need a toilet. But once again, without getting into specifics, though, I think common decency for males and females is you would need both of those items in that facility. So where I thought we could cut costs suddenly became of, you know what, I believe that is not something we should cut, because that's just common decency for males and females in a restroom. So once again, I just want to clarify that, yes, I agree, we probably could rebid this. We probably could cut some corners and save some costs. But at what expense? The expenses to our employees. That's all.
Any other comments or questions?
I have one thing, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Ross and Mike Welty and Drew
Speak
and
up,
I.
please.
I said, we met with Alderman Ross earlier this afternoon, Mike and Drew and I completely understand where he's coming from, and I understand the hesitation. But I'm not convinced, since it has been put out to bid for 3 times, that we're going to get a better price even if we do change the scope of work. Even if you make things smaller, maybe, but we may not get any bids at all, also, based upon the way the last bids have gone. And again, I just want to remind the board members, think about how many times you go to the bathroom during the course of a day. And as Bob said, we have female employees now. We've had a female seasonal all summer, and she's had to take a vehicle up to the concession stand every time she wants to use the bathroom, which is very inconvenient. And our new full-time female employee, she works part of the time out in the field. And so same thing, if we're working down at the shop, she has to go to the concession stand. And I will tell you that our full-time maintenance staff are a little bitter about this. They feel like they're secondary employees. They feel like they don't have the support of the city. And so I just ask you all to consider that as we move forward. That's all I have.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion to
Alderman
approve.
Osteen, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Rose, roll call, please.
Alderman Barella? Yes. Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Rose?
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
No.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. All right, moving on to new business. We have Bill 24-50, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 235, Sections 235.170, location containers. This is the first reading. City Clerk Tara Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This is something that was brought up back, it's been, back in 2023. This is something that was missed. There was a floor amendment that got missed in the original codification. And then I have a Scrivener's error that, if you read the first under section 235-170, should say commercial solid waste containers instead of water containers. And then after private property, there should not be a period. So those will all be changed in your next ordinance. So I recommend approval. I don't have any other changes to that.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading? Oh, Alderman Rucker, do you have a question?
I just want to clarify, and we're going to have to wing it without the attorney here. I realize the Scrivener error is correct for the period apostrophe. I don't know that is it correct that we can use the Scrivener error on the water to the waste, or should that be a floor amendment?
It'll be okay because this is only the first reading. The second final reading will be corrected. So it'll be all fine.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right, just want to
Yep.
keep us legal.
No, we're all good. This is just the first reading.
All right,
Make a motion to approve.
all right, all right, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 24-52, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with the Federal Highway Administration Office of Safety for Safer Streets for All grant. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As you all know, we were awarded this grant in December after turning it in back in July of 2023. This is a $1 million research grant that is designed to do 2 things for us: identify safety improvements and better routing for both pedestrian and vehicular traffic all over the city of Osage Beach. Additionally, we will be testing bike lanes on the west side of the parkway and another road that will be determined at the time we hire a consultant. With everything that we have coming to Osage Beach, with the Oasis, with the hotel that's coming after that, and a lot of the other larger developments that are coming, I think it is vital that we move forward with this grant and start to identify where we can make safety improvements. And I think it's important that we do it as soon as possible. So this grant is very timely for us. This is the first step. It has taken me about 4.5 months to get to this point after a lot of negotiation with the Federal Highway Commission. But we are there. Now the next steps here are going to be to form a committee made up of city staff, elected officials, and local interested parties. And the mayor and I and several staff members have already met and started that process. And then we're going to have to do 2 more things. Number one, we're going to have to hire a grant administrator. This grant is the most complicated grant that I've ever been involved in, and I've done over 75 grants for the city of Osage Beach. With all of the changes that we have coming at the top here in administration, I'm not going to have the same amount of time that I normally would to put into this, and I think it's important that we hire a grant administrator. That grant administrator would be paid out of the grant, so it's not like it changes anything as far as the budget is concerned. After we do that, we will have to hire a consultant to carry out this work. A lot of what the steering committee will do is help guide this process as we go through it. But that's the gist of it. That's kind of where we're at. There is one more very important thing that I want to make sure the board is aware of, and that is that when this all started, Branches for the Lake had told us that they were going to put $50,000 towards this grant. And after meeting with them last week, Mayor? They had indicated to me that that $50,000 would all come in-kind volunteer work and not cash. Now, in-kind volunteer work can be turned in on this grant. So there is some value there, but it is not exactly the same value that we put in the budget. So we will have to make a budget amendment at some point once we move forward with this. Whether that's this year or not, I don't know, because I doubt we'll spend the whole $1 million this year. It'll probably be spent over about the next 18 months. But just know that the contribution, while still very valuable from Branches for the Lake, will not be a cash contribution. It will be an in-kind contribution. And with that, that's all I have. I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excuse me, for clarification, isn't it 25,000?
It was originally 50, and then we had talked about 25, and to be honest with you, I can't remember what it says in the budget, but whether it says 25 or 50, it doesn't matter. We're not getting a cash contribution. It'll still have to be amended.
Okay, very good. Alderman Hoffman.
Why? Did they just, I'm confused. Did they just back out on that part of it? Did they change their mind? Did they not have the cash flow? Did they give you a reason?
I think, I don't really know for sure. My thought process is that they are very good at community outreach, and I think that they can help more that way. I do not want to comment on whether or not they had the cash available or not, because I just don't know. But I do know that they have experience in our community with community outreach, and I think that's something that they can help us with. It's just important that the board understand that that's not necessarily the same as what we were originally told.
I don't know if this ties in exactly with it, but I am in support of was it Branches of the Lake or the whole bike plan that they've got. Unless we're going to end up funding the whole thing, at that point, I'm really not in support of it, and I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. That's all I'm worried about.
Well, Alderman Hoffman, I will remind you that we were already going to take care of $950,000, and their portion was very small. But I totally understand where you're coming from. But I do think it's important to put it into context.
Okay, and.
I do also, to clarify, that it is an 80-20 match, so we're only required to match 20% of, and then we get the other 80%.
That's a very good point. So,
I just want to clarify.
so 150, 175 versus 200.
Okay. And the two employees that we're hiring on for this, the grant writer, I assume, and the consultant.
Yes, sir.
Do they become full-time employees of the city? Or are they contract labor? How does that work?
No, we'll be doing an RFP to hire a third-party grant consultant, grant administrator, to ensure that we adhere to all of the rules related to the grant. And then we will also do an RFP for a third-party consultant that specializes in this kind of work. I've already been contacted by a dozen of them. Trust me, they're out there. They're everywhere, so.
All right. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
All right, any other comments or questions? Alderman Osteen.
I've got some questions regarding the next steps, quote unquote.
Yeah.
First of all, forming a committee made up of city staff, elected officials, and local interested parties. That committee is formulated and dictated by who? These are people appointed by the board, people appointed by the mayor, people.
Alderman Osteen, we can do it. This is your grant. We can do it however you want to do it. The way that the mayor and I decided to do it, and I wish I had taken a picture of my whiteboard, but
Well, and-
we've got me.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt. It wasn't just us. It was the other people at Branch of the Lake, it was us, and we sat down what we thought might formulate a good board. And we thought somebody from our board, which we'd already talked to Alderman Barella about serving on that board, and then,
It seems like a very vague statement of, we're going to create a board,
Yeah.
a
No,
committee.
let me explain.
I was just curious about more of the details on how that committee comes to effect.
yeah.
So it would be a member of Branches from the Lake, me as the project manager, Alderman Barella, Andrew Bowman as our engineering, and then we're going to reach out into the community. We were going to reach out to the CVB and get a member of the CVB. We were going to reach out to the one of the schools and get a member of the school employee on the board, the fire department. And so those are the kind of, the idea here is this is safer streets for all, for our community. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we want to include, it's very important in my opinion that we have board presence on the committee so that person can come back to the board and make sure that the board knows everything that's going on from that standpoint. It's important that we have staff presence because we're the professionals that have moved this project forward. But it's equally as important that we have the community involved and the community understands the things that are going to happen, the changes that might have to happen because of the economic landscape changes that we're going to be having over the next 3 to 5 years. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
It does somewhat. Obviously, I see the need for the committee. It's just a very vague statement that we're going to create a committee with no details on how the committee is being formed and who that's going to comprise of. So, second question for you. In all these conversations, we keep talking about hiring a grant administrator, hiring a consultant. Do we have any dollars estimated associated with that?
Well,
Because you stated that those positions would be paid for through the grant.
yeah.
So therefore, okay, if we've got X amount of money, then let's start backing out what we're paying for third parties to consult, to administer, et cetera.
Right, so the way it breaks up is like this. From the research I've done, you're going to pay for a grant like this, it's going to take anywhere from 18 months to 24 months. You're going to pay about $50,000 for a grant administrator for that time period. And again, that's just my guess. That'll be bid out. And then the remainder of the money is all used on the project in one format or another. Now,
Except for the consultant.
the consultant is probably going to spend most of that money. Some of that money could be spent on our board doing some field trips to identify what kind of safety improvements are being used in other. When I say our board, I'm sorry, I mean the committee that I've talked about. Looking at some different things around Missouri that have already been done. Possibly, what was the name of that town that we were talking about going to?
Warsaw?
Warsaw. Possibly Warsaw, who's got a great trail and sidewalk program down there. But yeah, most of it is going to be spent through that consultant.
Yeah. I get the gist of it. I just feel like a lot of the comments are very vague. As far as, well, not just with the committee, but the grant administrator, the consultant, because we're starting with X dollar amount, and we start backing out the fees for the grant administrator, the fees for consultant, the fees for the field trips you're taking to Warsaw, which are reimbursable expenses. So that grant starts quickly whittling down. So I just feel like there should be more clarification when this is brought before the board. That's all.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Rucker.
Yes, couple things. I too, as Alderman Hoffman said, am rather disturbed with the Magic Dragon Trails organization. I'm just very upset that they've now decided to say, we're not gonna put up our money, we're gonna put up other kind of like services, and that is, I just, that's not the impression that was given, and so anyway, and the other stuff that they're gonna provide in kind or whatever, I think that, I personally was expecting them to do the 50,000 cash and then do the in-kind over and above that. But that's just my personal, I didn't ask those questions specifically, and shame may be on me for not specifically asking it. The other thing is, I do feel that they do have some valuable insight as to this, the trails and stuff, and even though I do think they should be involved in the board. I do think they have some insight to it. Lastly, I think that I'm in favor of moving forward, but I would ask Mike, because I think it'd be more appropriate for you or the mayor, but not me to do this, and you'll understand when I say it, to contact the road district.
The what?
The Osage Beach Special Road District. The Osage Beach Special Road District, for some of us know, and for those that don't, their basic guidelines, their basic mission, as we'll call it, is to provide for safer and better roads. Well, this kind of looks like to me, it's right there. Now, again, I think we ought to give them an opportunity. They ought to be given an opportunity at this stage to see if they want to participate in this program financially. I think that they ought to be given that opportunity, and I just think that that's appropriate.
I think that's a great idea, and I'll be happy to pursue that. One clarification, Branches for the Lake and Dragon Trails are two separate organizations. So I just want to clarify that, because this is not on the Dragon Trails. That they have worked for Branches for the Lake, but they are not necessarily part of them. And they have been a part of this as well. But Branches for the Lake is the one that pledged to help us.
Okay, thank
with
you for clarifying
with
that.
the in-kind, sir. Thank you.
Any Alderman Ross?
So I'm just going to say, from the beginning of this grant, I just can't figure out how this thing works, okay? Not how it works, but what's the result? I mean, what are we getting? Once I heard somebody say, well, we're going to spend $1 million to get a report. I don't know that that's necessarily accurate, but I want to try to understand this fuzzy math that's going on to start with. So if it's $1 million grant and we give them $150,000, does the $50,000 of in-kind qualify as the remaining 50 grand that's needed for a match?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It just depends on how far their in-kind goes. It certainly could, because it's all reimbursable.
Okay.
So it certainly
either
could.
we're going to have to pony up more money, or we're going to get less money towards the project. Is that right? If it doesn't all qualify.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So a couple other things. One, is this going to cover only city streets? Or does it also include the MoDOT right-of-ways that are through our
It
city?
includes the roads owned by either county or state that are within our city limits, in addition to all of the city-owned and, in some cases, privately owned roads within our city limits.
Okay. Because one of the concerns is that if you look at the measurements, and I think it's under, I don't know, there's a bunch of information here, so I kind of struggle back and forth, but it talks about, you know, how many fatalities have you had on your roads? Well, if it was city streets, I don't think we've had any fatalities, okay? How many serious injuries have you had? Very few, okay? So it seems like it's geared to try to figure out how to solve for fatalities and serious injuries, and I'm wondering if we're gonna spend $1 million to solve a problem that's very small, if at all, okay? I'm not sure why those measurements are in there. Maybe you can shed some light with all the work that you've done, but I am trying to understand what is the return on the investment. If the return is a report that if you grow by 20,000 people in the next 5 years, you're gonna need some sidewalks and some bike paths, okay, that's nice, all right. I don't know that we're gonna grow by 20,000 people in the next 5 years, okay? What I am trying to figure out is how is this gonna benefit the city other than what it looks like it's gonna do is benefit a whole bunch of engineers and so forth, and grant writers, and we're gonna end up with a report that probably ends up on a shelf, but I could be wrong. What are your thoughts?
Right, so the goal of this grant is to have 0 fatalities, pedestrian or vehicular, in the city limits of Osage Beach, no matter who owns the road. That's the goal. The goal is to improve safety on any of those roads through either, there could be anything from changing the way that we stripe them. It could also be preliminary work on pedestrian bridges, which I think is one of the big things that we're going to get out of this. And this is all tied back to many of the city's master plans, the sidewalk plan, which I think is still on the list, the street lights, that's all, it's all tied to safety there. So the idea here is we come out of this, and you are exactly right, Alderman Ross, we will have a giant report. But within that report, we will have the makings of the preliminary designs for which one of the overpasses we want to start with as far as putting some pedestrian traffic over those. We will have a lot of road count information about which cars are going where, in which roads are having more use than others, where the heaviest traffic is, where we need to make changes as far as widening roads, or changing to lighting on roads, or adding turn lanes to roads. And the idea here is not only do we take that data and we add it to the existing plans that we have to enhance what we have moving forward as far as a roadmap for prioritization of what we want to do first, but it also gets our foot in the door for the next level of grants. You can't even get the construction grants for this without doing this grant first. This grant is what leads you to those construction grants. So essentially what we're doing is we're building the roadmap to go to get a different grant that would actually, put shovels in dirt and get things moving. Now, I can't promise you that we're gonna get that grant because that's something that we still have to do. But you have to do this piece before you can move on and get to that next level.
Okay, so another question, there's $96,000 of construction in here at this time. Okay. So I assume that's where we're gonna stripe some bicycle lanes and put some delineators up and so forth.
Oh, yeah. You're looking at the breakdown of costs. Okay, I got you.
Right. And so the question is that once we put these things up, and I don't know whether people are gonna like them or not like them, but let's just, for happen's sake, people don't like these things. Do we have an exit strategy, or are we gonna have to pay to take it all down?
Right, so the cost is for a 90-day temporary bike lane. It won't be there for more than 90 days. What we do will be, semi-permanent. It won't be permanent.
So the cost
there'll be new striping put down. The consultant will help us decide whether we need to put actual delineators or whether we just want to do it kind of like what you see in Jeff City, where they just use the lines. And that's just our guess. One of the hardest parts of doing this grant on the front end is I can't pay an engineer to help me figure this out because I want it all in the grant. So you have to kind of put some estimates in there and move forward with them.
So, if we stripe a bike lane, I mean, that's permanent until we paint it black. So is painting it black if we don't want it afterward fact, is that gonna, it may not be a lot of money, but I'm just trying to figure out who's on first here.
Whatever striping we do will only be there for 90 days and then it'll be taken away.
So that's part of, that taken away is part of these costs.
Yes.
The removal of any delineators is part of this.
Right now, the tentative plan, and again, it'll take shape better once we get a consultant on board, is that we do this next summer, July, August, September. And then you put it back at the, at the end of September. That is the plan. But I will say, again, the board ultimately drives this project. So if you guys don't want me to do it at that particular time frame, then that's fine. Let me know when you do want to do it. But I think that's when it's going to make the most impact, because that's when you're going to have the most traffic.
Well, I think that should be up to the committee at the end of the day. I think that's risky, but I also see the benefits of that's when you have the most traffic. So, but it is risky, okay? If it doesn't work well, then you can get a lot of bad press at a time when there's a lot of people to give you bad press. So that's a double-edged sword. I mean, I get the fact that, if we're gonna get any more money, that we gotta spend this money, okay? But that's a big if, okay? I too am very disappointed that when someone says we'll donate $50,000, and what they really meant apparently was we'll donate $50,000 of sweat equity. Usually, Kevin, to your point, I don't think it was the fact that you didn't ask the right question. You shouldn't have had to ask a question, okay? It's just, it feels like a shell game in my mind, 3-card money. So at the end of the day, I'm extremely hesitant. I guess the best thing, we're talking about somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 of city funds that I'm not convinced are going to make a whole lot of difference. The rest of the board probably disagrees, but that's okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Hoffman.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Alderman Ross just said, but I think there's probably enough value here to me to move forward. But at least for my chair, I look at that as that 50,000 that you didn't do, that's your mulligan. That's your mulligan. That's your one, attaboy. But, because I just don't think it's fair to the community for the city to get into a position where it's funding the bike trails. And it doesn't instill confidence in partnering with them when they back out of what they said they were going to do. So I'm okay on giving them a pass once, but I would just like Alderman Borrello or the mayor to convey to them that that's not going to continue, at least not from my chair. But that being said, I do support this moving forward.
One more comment. Just as a reminder, the city of Osage Beach was one of 47 recipients to get this grant in 2024, and we are the 6th to get this far with it in 2024. So we are not the first, but we're near the front. So we've been moving this project along. Just want to make sure the board knows that.
One last thing, Officer O'Day, correct? Lieutenant Taylor. Okay, I think I had the wrong one from the chief last week, is what he told me. Do you have any, put your 2 cents in on this? Do you think that this benefits the police force in any way, or any opinion on it at all?
I would say honestly, I don't know enough about it to actually answer honestly. So you're talking about bike lanes along the where? I don't know where. City streets, Parkway. I'm not sure what you're talking about, where you're adding them.
Well, it's right down Osage Beach Parkway, right?
Yeah, it would be from KK to Nichols, possibly all the way to Case, but definitely KK to Nichols. And for the record, when I said city staff, I've already talked to chief. A police representative will be on the committee.
Okay, that's really all I needed to know. Thank you.
Can I ask one other question?
Alderman Ross.
So the arterial streets popped up in this thing, that we would be doing some bike lanes or delineators on arterial streets too. I'm not sure the objective, number one, and two, I think that's the first I've heard of that. So what is that about?
Well, we haven't identified a street yet, but we have the ability, we don't necessarily have to, but we have the ability to include a second street that's not on the Parkway. We're considering that street that kind of goes down the back way into the state park, since it's right there where we're going to have the bike lanes anyway. We also have considered Nichols on this side of the bridge, for what it's worth. But that's up in the air, and that's something that we really need a consultant to help us decide, because we've got so many narrow streets around here. I don't think it'll work on many of them, but maybe some of them.
Alderman Rose.
This is probably a silly question. You're saying from KK to Nichols on the Parkway. Is there any area in that space that actually is MoDOT?
Let's see, we own KK. We don't own the stop line at Nichols, do we, on the Parkway?
We do.
Oh, I think we do.
It might be that we own both of those stoplights. We only own 5 total,
Yeah,
but
I think we do.
we don't own KK? So yes, it sounds
Can look
like
into
if
it.
Alderman Ross is correct, one of them is part of
Well,
MoDOT.
Obviously, we'd have to get some kind of satisfaction or okay from MoDOT to do any changes whatsoever, right?
Right, and I've already talked to Danny Rager about all this stuff. He's well aware of what's going on.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One last thing, if I could. I think we should maybe include somebody from the hospital on this board that's right by the rear entrance, that it gets used quite a bit. I see a lot of ambulances pulling in there. I don't know if that has any of how they feel about the bike lane going there. Have we even talked to them? Should they be on the board? But I think they should be consulted personally.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Osteen.
I'm supportive of the general idea of this, but it just seems like there are so many assumptions and what-ifs that we're rolling the dice on things we don't know, on what this is actually going to produce for us, that I'm inclined to vote no against this, with the strong opinion of bringing it back to the board once we flesh a lot more of this out. I support it, but I don't, to some extent, if that makes sense. Because I don't know, it seems like a big, roll the dice on a lot of things we don't know at this point.
Listen, the board can vote the way they want to vote, but if you do not vote to pass this now, then I go back to my person with Federal Highway Commission, and I say they didn't vote it, and they take the money and they give it to somebody
I
else.
understand that too, because I'm also somewhat inclined to do approval on a first reading, but with lots of stipulations on a second reading for approval.
You know what I know at this point.
It doesn't seem like we know a lot. So, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there, that I'm just confused on a lot of this, and it's a lot of what-ifs.
Alderman Umbrella.
Mike, would we be able to use this in any type of way, or the funds from this, like on Jeffries with all the changes that we're going to have over there with that road?
Well, that's
To do some of the
that's
studies
exactly what
and-
this is for. We'll be doing traffic studies on Jeffries. We'll be doing traffic studies on all of the roads that cross over 54.
And I think there's going to be a lot of changes over there, and that's
Oh,
probably going to be
exactly.
worth it.
That's probably ground zero. All the area around the bridge is ground zero for all of the research that we're going to do on traffic patterns and safety. This also includes the idea of a pedestrian bridge across the Grand Glades. I mean, this is all going to be fleshed out through this grant. I'll admit to you that as I went through this, I was searching for answers on this as well, because this is my first time doing a grant of this size. But think of this as a giant traffic study, with us testing some bike lanes in places and doing a lot of car counting and a lot of research on whether or not the striping patterns that we use now are going to work for us as we continue to get busier on the Parkway and on 54, and then taking that data and melding it into the worksheets that we already have on sidewalk expansion and road maintenance and street lighting, and melding that all together to get to a point where we have a kind of a ready-to-build project that we can get grants on to move forward with some of these pedestrian bridges, with some of these safety improvements. But I understand your trepidation, and I understand that there's just not a lot of info other than what I've provided you for me to give you, but that's where we're at.
Any other comments or questions?
Mayor, one more comment. With this information that we gather, I just want you to want the committee or the board, or this board, or everybody to remember, what I've understood from the very beginning is this is going to come back with a plan, okay? There's going to be a lot of plans and a lot of things in here, okay? A lot of safety things that they're going to provide us. Let's remember, we have, again, my wife's going to kill me. We got the special road district that does safety things. There might be projects in here that they might like to look at. We also have some of these roads that are county roads. We have some of these roads that are state roads, that once we do this and get this information, it would give us the opportunity to go back to the state and say, hey, this portion of your road that's in our city, this would make it safer. This county, this is your road. This would make it safer, you know? So these are some of the things that I believe we'll be getting back from this, and we need to remember, this is not just for us, this is for the community. So let's also see what the people out in the community want to do to help get these projects done after they're come in. Thank you.
All right.
One last question, if you don't mind. Is the funding coming out of general fund or transportation?
Transportation.
So it's $200,000 worth of something else we can't do.
Any other comments or questions?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. All right, we have 2 opposed. All right, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 24-53, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to sign a contract change order number 1 with Logan Excavating LLC for the Osage Beach Road Improvement Project for an amount not to exceed $101,076.75. This is the first reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. At the board's request, we are submitting this change order for approval to widen the road by a foot and add additional sidewalk from the dance studio all the way down to the parkway. So as we had discussed before, there would be sidewalks on both sides of Osage Beach Parkway, on both sides of Osage Beach Road, from the parkway all the way to the dance studio. The crosswalk would stay in place, and the road would be widened by essentially a half foot on either side. The total cost to make this change order would be $101,076.75, and we are still like 270 some thousand under what we budgeted. So it doesn't affect, there's no budget amendment needed. It doesn't affect the bottom line. It simply puts in place the changes that the board discussed when we approved this. And I am asking for first and second reading so that we can make sure that we do not hold the contractor up here. I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
It does not say first and second reading, but you are asking,
Kind of does.
I'm sorry, it does?
Well, so if you look at it, the first line says first reading, and then the next line says.
Okay, I'm looking at the first, okay. So it is on the actually white sheet, okay. Very good. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have comment?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, second reading, same bill. Bill 24-53, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, excuse me, authorizing the city administrator to sign a change order number 1 with Logan Excavating LLC for Osage Beach Road Improvement Project for an amount not to exceed $101,076.75. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Barilla.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 24-54, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Constructive Concepts Corporation for a well house repairs project for an amount not to exceed $176,744. Public Works Operations Manager, Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, and by the way, he doesn't have his hat on again, by the way, Alderman Osteen.
And you got a haircut.
Is your mic on?
Zach, I don't know if that's
I
on.
don't think your mic's on.
Thank you. This project opened for bid July 7th. And it is, we only received one bid back, and it was from Construction Concepts, the same company that's going to be doing the parks bathrooms. So we didn't check out the references, but they all checked out fine the first time around. This is a project to replace the roofs and doors for 6 of the well houses. It is shingle roofs on the majority of them, with replacing the skylights to a aluminum access hatch. The doors will go from the steel ones they have now to a fiberglass, so we don't have the same rusting and corrosion problems that we currently have. We did recommend 2 alternates on it, which would be alternate 4 and 5. And that would be to side Passover building, the Passover well house. Siding is in bad shape. That one does have vinyl siding on it, and there's holes and breakages on there. And that would put a standing seam roof on Passover. The additional alternate would be to put a standing seam roof on the chemical building at the Swiss Tower site, along with vinyling the gable ends on that building. All of that together, for construction prices, project is $178,000, so this is within budget, and I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Comments, questions from the board?
Did we just have one bid?
Yes. One bid.
Make sure I didn't miss anything. Thanks. Sorry.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading? Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Bill passes. Next, we have a motion to proceed with the purchase of a salt spreader stand and salt hopper upgrade from Henderson Products for an amount not to exceed $17,349. Again, Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the board, I do apologize. This was an oversight by me on the Freightliner dump truck and salt spreader that was approved 7/18. Missed the stand totally. So this adds the stand, and then the hopper was caught on the final review by Henderson. We originally had an 8-foot hopper on the bid sheet or on the product sheet, and we need a 15-foot hopper for the dump truck. Those changes amount to $17,349, which does raise the overall price of the truck. It is still well within budget. This is kind of we need it so we can have a salt spreader that'll fit in there and be the proper size. I do recommend approval, and I hope this one goes through. Thank you.
Mike?
Zach, do you think that that's going to be delivered this year?
Yeah, I do. The cabin chassis was the tightest thing. So once it got approved last week, they already got us a build slot. And we're thinking we're going to get a 4th quarter build slot, and Henderson will move it. You know, they've already done their reviews, and they're going to move on this as soon as we get this to them. But the sales rep, everybody's confident that we will have it delivered by the end of the year. So we could be plowing snow with it this year.
All right. Comments, questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Barella, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Next, we have a motion to proceed with the purchase of a Vapex odor control unit from Municipal Equipment Company for a price not to exceed $137,000. Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you. Mayor's member of the board, this is the Vapex unit for 53-1 in the fall. This was another one recommended. As you know, Vapex unit is installed at Sands currently. We were very happy with the ease of maintenance on it. The install was troublesome initially, but we've done it once. You know, you do it again faster the second time. We do receive numerous complaints from this station. It is on the end of Normandy. You know, it's the same Baypex unit now. It's going to fog ozone in the upper portions of the wet well to combat the sewer odors that rise out of the station. I do recommend approval. It is within budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, Alderman Hoffman.
Where is this located?
So if you go down the end of Normandy, I guess
Ours.
It is Cars?
right, in the
That's all I
backs
need
of
to
the
know.
Harper's Cove, so.
Okay, thanks. Because I thought that was the next one in line, so, okay.
I had the same question.
Okay, yeah.
That was it.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Morose.
Several weeks, once we order it, of getting it, right?
Yeah, yes, that's not gonna,
Then are you ready to install it at that time?
this will require the same upgrades. We'll have to run a water line, it uses water to facilitate the ozone into the station. So we'll need to tap the water main, run a water line, backflow preventers, and then the piping, which it did take us longer than before. But yeah, once it's here, we are gonna move forward. Pending approval, we'll start moving forward on it right away, but it's not gonna be an immediate connection.
Estimated timeframe?
Hopefully, if we receive the unit soon, we're fogging it in a month and a half, I would hope.
A month and a half, you said?
Zach, now the water line and like the concrete slab, that can all be done while we're waiting for the unit, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
Are we having any accessibility issues to it? You know, can we park our trucks on Cars' property? I know there's an easement involved there. Are there any issues with that, or is that flowing okay?
Yeah, they've always been really good to Public Works. We have a good working relationship with them. They've always been really nice to us, and when we have issues down there, they're accommodating.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I've talked with Steve as well. and he's cool.
Alderman Ross.
Along that lines, though, do we have an easement area to run the water line? Because I don't think there's water there now, is there?
There's a main that parallels that sewer. So the sewer and water mains both come from Nichols down through their property, through that property.
Okay, I didn't realize there was water all the way down there, too. That's all I have, thanks.
Very good.
Just a clarification, we are still dealing with some easement issues there that we will eventually need to fix. But the area that he is talking about is within the easement as it stands right now, so there's no immediate issue there. But as you know, there's other work budgeted back behind that station. If we ever move forward with that, we will have to get the easement stuff fixed, but that's more of a long-term thing at this point, so.
Just for clarity, that you don't see any problems hooking up water?
I don't foresee any problems.
Okay.
I've never had any issues.
All right, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Morose, and a second, Alderman Ross. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries, very good. Last item, motion least, is a motion to approve the purchase of 12 high tide SCADA modules for municipal equipment company for a price not to exceed $53,586.12. Man of the hour, Zach Wilbur.
Thank you again. Mayor, members of the board, this is for 12 high tide cellular modules. Currently, we have 11 high tides in the system right now that send information via cell service. The rest of the reporting stations come through on radios. The 12 stations that we have down that we'd like to replace are the radio-based stations. So they report, stations are based with a PLC, a radio, an antenna, nothing that we can really manage in-house. Every time we have issues with them, we have to have techs come down from St. Louis to troubleshoot them. We did an overhaul of the system a couple years back, and we're still seeing issues with that. By going with high tide, a lot more user-friendly. Call them on the phone 24/7. They'll answer. They'll troubleshoot it. They can see exactly what's going on their back end. Upgrades on it are similar to a cell phone. If they notice an issue, they can push the upgrade, turn the unit off, turn the unit back on. The upgrades to the device itself. Instead of using the PLC like the traditional radio setup, it's taking either signals off of dry contactors, It can use the run indicator light for the pump runs. It can use or dry relays. Sorry, it takes the signals off of dry relays, but it can use the contactor as well. So these are all mechanical devices that are already in the panel. All it's doing is contactor sucks in, yep, pump's running. Pops out, pump stops. So hooked to the float, yep, high level, low level. So these, it takes the computer PLC portion out of this scenario. We are asking for this without the install. These units seem to be very user-friendly, where the last two we've done, Spencer's done them in-house for us. So in addition to that, Nathan used to install them for MEC when he worked with them. So we like the user-friendliness of it. Another thing the guys really like is you can pull it up on your phone. I can pull it up on my phone right now, and you can look at the stations, see what pumps are running, see where the well level's at, if it has a fog rudder or transducer. And so at the middle of the night, if you get a pump fail and it comes through our radio, SCADA, you're coming in. If you get one on the high tide, you can pull up the high tide, and if it's a duplex or a triplex station, oh, I still got 2 good pumps. I got 1 good pump. I can go back to bed. So it saves a call out in that aspect. I'm happy to answer any further questions. I do recommend approval.
Comments, questions from the board? Alderman Ross.
One question, one comment. First of all, Zach and I talked about so many different things. Can SCADA, or I'm sorry, High Tide, monitor amp draw? I think you told me no, right? Or can
It can. We don't have, if we were to put, you can put amp draw modules, say on the leads, and then you could send that out. Thing that I failed to mention there is it's tracking historical data as well, it's tracking the historical data as well. The newer modules that are out, they give us estimated inflow and outflow based on the size of the wet well and pump. So theoretically, you could even see that pump efficiency drop as it's having to pump more because it's pushing out less. But if we were to go and put amp modules on those leads, we could see it. It would send that information through.
Well, I think you guys should, maybe talk to them and consider if it's going to, because to tie back to we need to transition from a reactive to a proactive maintenance. This is some of the tools we're going to have.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's sure going to make it a lot easier to transition at the very least. And we don't need them on every single one. I think we talked about it, but at least the quote big 88 that's been used many times. But the best indication of a pump, and with some of the lead times on these large pumps, if we can get indications that we're seeing that, this thing's been running for 3 years at 12.5 amps and all of a sudden it's running at 18 amps, okay, well, that's a heck of a lot of information that we wish we've had for a long, long time. And so I don't know what the extra cost is for the additional module, to monitor that, but something I think we should consider, and I fully support these.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Rucker.
Zach, this falls right into something that you and I talked about at the Joint Sewer Board that I brought up there. My concern on this kind of technology, and for the rest of the board's knowledge, what I talked about was the fact that all the garbage that's going on with the technology that people are getting into, and some of the stuff there an article I read through MML was the fact of the making sure we have the proper safeguards, firewalls, and I'm already way over my head in technology with what I just said because I don't even understand what those things even mean. So, but I do know that there's concern that these people are attacking, cities with these kinds of things, whether it's the water pumps or the sewer pumps or anything like that. So I support it. I support it for a lot of reasons that Alderman Ross mentioned, but I also ask you to just, whether you need to go through our IT to help you out in that area or whatever, but make sure we try to do what we can to put the safeguards, firewalls, or whatever we got to keep the bad guys from getting in there and messing with it. But I just want to bring that up for your information. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Morose. Do I have a second? Alderman Ross. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Last item of business, discussion, fleet replacement policy. Is this you, Mike?
I think it's supposed to be me, yeah. I think Tara put her name on there. And you want to, you want to do, you go for it, girl.
You know what, let me think about this. No. You have a who?
To be honest with you, this is mostly just going to be Alderman Ross. I will just tell you that after I heard this, I just wanted to make sure I got the board as much information as I could. So I just quickly went to a few state websites. I picked Office Administration, Missouri Highway Patrol because of our police fleet, and then MoDOT because we compare ourselves so much to them. And you can see what I have there on what I found on their website. What I did took 5 minutes, so I didn't really dive into this deeply. I just looked at their fleet management sheet to see what their thresholds were, and I put those here. The one thing I will tell you is that the one with MoDOT is very confusing, and I had to call their fleet management office and have them explain it to me. But I do believe I have it worded right there. Most of the people that I talked to told me that after COVID, they moved to a return on investment style when doing this type of stuff. So before COVID, they did not put as much of an emphasis on return on investment, and after COVID, they did. As a matter of fact, several of the people I talked to said that they will be moving to a leasing program sometime in the next few years. Obviously, that's got to go through their legislation as well, but that's what they told me. So I'll leave with that. I will turn it over to Alderman Ross because I know he's got a lot to say about this. And if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Alderman Ross? Alderman
So
Ross?
I just believe, the same thing I believe for a long time, and that is that we should not be replacing vehicles that are in good working condition until at least 150,000 miles. I don't see any reason to be doing that at 100,000 miles. That's what our policy states now. The policy says it's up. I'm not exactly sure the wording, so yeah, there could be a deal where it gets to 110 or 120. But I know a lot of people that have cars with a lot more than 150,000 miles on them. I know I have one. I know many people have them. I just had the opportunity, my birthday, to visit with a friend of mine who's been in the used car business for 40 plus years, and it's like, I got a pickup truck and it's got to turn 25,000 miles and I'm gonna drive it till it drops because that's the best way to do it. And so we can talk about return on investments and lease policies and so forth. And we can always look at numbers, and if we need to look at numbers that are different over time, fine. But I just think that the best way for us to get the best value for the taxpayers and our residents and visitors is to extend asset lives. And the best way to do that with vehicles is to, in my mind, at least to move to 150,000. I mean, I don't think that we need to. I don't know that there would be support. You wouldn't have a problem with me setting on 200,000. But at this point, I would just like to see us go to 150 and see what happens. And if it's a bad idea and things start falling apart, shoot, we'll move it back. It's okay. But that would be my recommendation. So I'll leave it at that and see who else wants to talk about it.
Alderman Osteen.
I second the motion.
Oh, it wasn't exactly a motion, but-
I'm saying that in jest.
Yeah.
Okay.
You not get the joke there. I've been one of the people, obviously, that I think people are looking at when it comes to changing the replacement program, because I've been very adamant that we follow what we had passed as a board. But I do agree with Alderman Ross that I think that based on today's technology, usage of vehicles, et cetera, that yes, we do need to push out the years, push out the mileage.
All right, any other comments or questions? Alderman Rucker.
Well, I would not second that motion. I would deny that motion because, as you know, I have been totally the opposite of that. And I find it rather interesting that a number of things that just kind of struck me strange. Number one, our recent board retreat session we had, we spoke and we made specific strategic request of the board, of the staff, to look at the ROI, look at the return on investment on everything we do. Look at the return on investment. That's what we're doing here, and we're not looking at the return on investment because the return on investment, as I have indicated, and as you can see, the state even believes it, the return on investment is to not drive them till they drop, not drive them till they're not reliable, not drive them until the maintenance cost is exorbitant, is to get rid of them when they are at the right time to sell them. I was involved back in 1980s at National Fire Academy, where there was a number of studies that were done, and I wish I've tried to get my hands on it, but there were studies that were done where organizations said, how long should we keep our vehicles? Now, they were looking at emergency equipment, I will tell you that, okay? And they were looking at staff vehicles that was semi-emergency. But we pretty well have that same type of stuff, because as far as I'm concerned, our public works equipment is half the time is emergency stuff, because it needs to respond quickly to get out and take care of the problems. So I think that it falls in that area. But we are looking at the fact that we as a governmental body also have different guidelines we need to think about, because we spend less for the vehicle when we buy it than most people do, because we buy them at governmental pricing. So we buy it for a lesser price than what most people do. And then when it comes time to sell it at the right time, which is what the state is looking at here, and I totally agree with their numbers, that's when they're going to get the most return back on that vehicle. So there is sometimes that you're going to get, you're going to drive a vehicle for those miles and literally cost you nothing to speak of. Your maintenance is going to start getting more above those mileage. Is it going to get more above 100,000? Yeah. Above 150? Yeah. Well, where does it peak at? Again, that's what these numbers here are showing, that, and that's why your people that want you to lease, why they want control, because they're telling you at that 50,000, 60, 70,000, we want that vehicle back, because now we can sell it for the most. Well, if we can sell it for the most, and that means that we can sell it for the most, we get the most return on our money. So, plus the thing that we also have to understand, which is extremely important, is reliability. Whether it's the police, which I realize has to be the most reliable, and the ambulance, and our public works has to be right there behind it. Those pieces of equipment have to be. I want that guy out there at midnight pushing snow to have a reliable piece of equipment with the mileage that is down there, and the comfort also as well. And I think that by pushing the mileage up, by doing that, we're just getting ourselves into more costly on maintenance, less reliability. And I think that also has something to do, as a person that worked for governmental organizations, it has to do with the morale of the people. And when you're out there working and you're driving or using a piece of equipment, or our equipment, our vehicles that are good, up-to-date, reliable, and not old, falling apart, or not having reliability problems because of the amount of mileage, that has an effect. And so I'm not in favor of changing it. I'm in favor of keeping it where it's at. I think it should even be less than what it is. And as you can see, and there's a return on the investment. As you're also going to see, the mayor has requested that we listen to Enterprise, which I don't think that program is a program that we should do, even though I agree with their philosophy. Their philosophy is to sell it when you're going to get the most return on your investment. I think we can do that, and I think we've been doing a good job of it, and I think we can do a better job if we would follow the lower guidelines that the state has, or at least lessen ours, not increase them. So I totally do not support the change.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Alderman Hoffman. Oh,
I'll defer to Alderman Wilson. I'm interested to hear it.
Sorry. Just a reminder, when we talk about the fleet replacement program, these are not hard and fast numbers on mileage or years. These are benchmarks. And we keep going back and forth on this. And I was very much against this to begin with, on deviating from what we've talked about. But the more I looked into it, the more I thought, once again, these are not hard and fast that if the car hits 100,000 miles or 10 years, it's an automatic replacement. We've got vehicles that have been at 70,000 miles we've had to replace. We've got vehicles at 175,000 miles, which we still have in our fleet. These are just benchmarks to look at. And I think with technology and the way vehicles are made now, I think I am fine with pushing that back another year or two, or pushing that back another 25,000 miles or so. Because once again, at the end of the day, it comes back to the vehicle itself, not the mileage, not the age. It goes back to the usability of that vehicle. We keep talking about the MoDOT information that's been presented in front of us, and yes, when you read through the first part of it, that looks pretty odd to me. 4 years, 100,000 miles. We read further down to it, then they also state 10 years or 175,000 miles. So there seems to be a juxtaposition on what they're saying. They're saying some of them will look at this. Other ones, 170,000 miles is our benchmark. And that's the state. So like I said, so doing the research on this, which of course, Mr. Welty said there was only 5 minutes of some quick Google searches, doesn't give us hard and fast, once again, with the state either. Some vehicles, they're going to shoot for 100,000 miles. Some are going to shoot for 175,000 miles. So once again, it comes down to the vehicle, the type of vehicle, the usage, et cetera. So I'm fine with pushing that benchmark back, not considerably, but another year or two, another 25,000 miles or so. But once again, it goes back to the vehicle.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
make a comment?
Please.
I want to use Ty as an example here. Ty, the vehicle that you drive every day, do you know how many miles it has on it right now? 130. 130. If you'll look on the sheet that's attached here, you'll note that we have a yellow mark in the year of 2026 for Ty's vehicle. Ty's vehicle is a 2013. It's got 130,000 miles on it right now, which I know he knows that because I just asked for mileage on everything, so he just emailed it to me. But we're not planning on replacing that vehicle in 2025, and I'll tell you right now, we keep moving that yellow mark out. Why do we do that? Because that vehicle is sound. There is nothing wrong with it. So I want to make sure the board understands. These are exactly what Alderman Osteen said. They are benchmarks. You want to make it 150, I got no problem with that. If we have a vehicle that's got 110,000 miles on it that's 6 years old and it's got a bent frame on it, I'm still going to bring it to the board and recommend that we make the change. I feel like we waste too much time on this because no matter what we do, we still have to come back to you and get permission from you to sell a vehicle. We have to prove ourselves to you guys to sell a vehicle, whether it's got 200,000 miles on it or 70,000 miles on it. I can't get approval to move forward with any of that stuff without the approval of the board. And we have not been frivolous and brought you vehicles that don't meet the criteria. Every time we have brought you a vehicle, we have provided the documentation on why we want to move forward with that. Now, there have been a couple of those vehicles where the board has said, you know what, we can put a new bed on this one. I think we did that a few years ago, truck 55. Put a new bed on this one and we'll keep driving it. Look down the list, folks. 55 isn't even, now that we put a new bed on it, 55 isn't even going to be traded out for a few more years, and it's got over 100,000 miles on it. It's got like 140,000 miles on it now. So I just want to make sure the board understands that. We're gonna bring you vehicles to replace when it makes sense, whether that's 70,000 miles or 200,000 miles. Happy to change the policy and look at it through the different lens that you want, but in the end, it's all about whether or not the vehicle is still reliable, and if it is, we're going to keep driving it. Just wanted to make that comment.
Alderman Hoffman.
I do support the 150,000. I think it's just a good standard number. And echo what Alderman Osteen said about technology is just improving. And I am a little concerned about police vehicles. I don't know, because they'll probably run harder and faster. I think we might want to look at the fleet for 150 and maybe not apply that to police vehicles.
That's what we do.
Okay.
There's different numbers for police force versus other vehicles.
Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure if we were looking to move that. And lastly, we brought this up as strategic planning. I'm going to re-echo it. I think it's time to bring in a city mechanic that is in-house and dedicated to the maintenance of our vehicles, so that we're extending the life through proper preventive maintenance. And then when it's something beyond his or her capabilities, that person's in charge of going out and finding how to get it fixed, how to get it transported. You know, if it happens to be an airport vehicle that can't go drive down the highway, does it need to get trailered out? But I think that that's something that won't cost us a lot of money for the employee, and is going to end up saving us a lot of money and extending vehicles. So that's all.
Any other comments or questions? This is a discussion item. Any other discussion?
Any other way?
This is a discussion item, so any more discussion on this?
Well, so all I say is we had this before the meeting of, okay, well, how do we proceed? I had asked that this be put on here so that we could take action, okay? And Mike was, well, it's just a policy, so I just need direction for the board. So usually direction from the board, the best way to get direction is to have a vote and provide direction. But if that's not the appropriate thing, fine, I think it is. Go ahead, Mike, if you want to add that.
I was just going to say, the direction that I have seen is that, and you know, please speak up if you don't agree with me or if I misread everything, but no change on police. And I'm at the top of page 151, just in case anybody wants to follow along. No change on police. Non-police, unmarked police replacement schedule, 10 years, 150,000 miles? Or do you want me to just drop the 10 years and just say 150,000 miles? And then specialized vehicles, 100,000 miles. I wasn't going to really change that either. But right now, if I get no other input, I will change that middle piece to 10 years, 150,000 miles.
I think they should all go to 150, to be quite honest. Now, specialized vehicles, maybe not, because you've got some trucks and so forth that may not last. I mean, we might use them 10 miles a week because we don't use them that much. But so I don't have a concern there.
Aren't police cars considered specialized vehicles as well, though? Because
We
they are-
categorize them in
because they're
three different
Yeah,
categories.
they're their own category.
Yeah.
Yeah, police have their own category. At 6 years, 100,000 miles is our benchmark. Again, our benchmark. But I leave it up to Todd to make those decisions on what he wants to do on a yearly basis. But 150 for a police is way outside of what I've seen. But we'll do whatever the board
I think
wants
we're all
to
in
do.
agreement to not change the benchmark for the police force. It's the non-police vehicles, which are the ones that we believe get more usage or more life out of.
Not all of us agree with that, sir.
I understand that.
All right, so the consensus, it sounds like, and it's, again, it's up to Mike, are you going to put this in the format of the next meeting, bring it to the board for first?
It doesn't require an ordinance. This is just a policy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the change. And when I bring this form to the board, updated with all the new information on it at the budget workshops, I will change what we just discussed here. And frankly, if we get to that and you guys decide, you know what, let's make this other change, then I'll change it again. It doesn't matter to me. It's just a policy.
So, all right, just so I understand here, so tonight, we had it down as a discussion items, but you're telling me that we can change our policy by a vote tonight?
It's not a vote.
All this is a policy. It's an in-house policy. They're just directing staff to change a policy.
It's not an amendment or an
Wait, I
ordinance.
understand that. However, we have some difference of opinions, so I want to make sure that we know what we're changing it to.
Is it a policy or a guideline?
Guideline.
Is there a difference? Is there a difference?
Well, I'm the only one that's opposed, and that's, you say there's something, but I'm the only one that spoke opposed, everybody else is in favor, so. it
All
sounds
right,
like to
is
me
anyone
we're gonna
else
do it.
opposed to what they're proposing as far as leaving the police vehicles alone, correct? Special vehicles alone, and changing the other ones to 150,000, is that correct?
We'll live with that for now.
All right. Does that give you what you need, Mike?
Yes, thank you very much.
And to reiterate, as a policy or a guideline change, we can change it next week. I mean, it's not something that is set in stone that requires a first reading, a second reading, an ordinance change.
Let's not, though.
An amendment. It's just, I prefer we don't, but just to reiterate to everyone on the board, we can change this at any moment. So.
Very good, all right. How about we move on to the rest of the discussion items? We'll start with, well, Gina's not here. How about the Assistant City Administrator, Mike Walty?
I do have one thing real quick, and it's along the same lines as what we just talked about. We were asked to investigate at the strategic planning meeting a local vacant building for the possibility of using it for the mechanic. The information that I found is that if we wanted to purchase that building and use it in such a manner, we would have to remove the fuel tanks and go through, what did you call it, Drew? An environmental.
It's expensive.
Yeah, and so the bottom line is that it would cost us more to do what I just said than it would to buy the property, and so I don't think it would be a sound investment for the city to look into that. So we are going to bring some other options to you when we get to the budget workshop and see if the board is interested in us pursuing some other options. But I think everybody's in agreement that a mechanic on a certain level would be helpful. And so we're gonna bring some options to the board and have some options for you when we get to the budget workshops along those lines. But that gas station is probably a bit of a money pit, so.
Yeah, I took a shot at it forward.
All right. Thank you, Mike. City Clerk, Tara Barrett.
Oh, I have interesting stuff tonight. In April, we hired Angie Bowens to be our front desk part-time. She's half city clerk, half AR. She is amazing. She thinks out of the box. We did her goals and stuff, goals in the NeoGov yesterday. She is all about paperless. I was so excited. She's come up with some new ideas. We're gonna have some new ways to do our licensing. We're gonna try it all online instead of mail out contractor licenses this year. She's doing an awesome job. I'm so proud of her. She's just doing great. And also MML, September 15th through the 18th. I have all of you signed up and all registered, got you all rooms, all good and ready to go. If you don't want to go, please, or you can't go, please let me know in advance so I can cancel your rooms. That's all we can get back, except Phyllis, she's going on a cruise.
Oh.
So my travel buddy's not gonna be there, I'm very sad. We travel everywhere, I am gonna miss you.
I better get the suite and not Bob this time, though.
I got the suite, none of you got the suite. So, other than that, everything's good in clerk world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lieutenant Taylor, everything?
Nothing, Mayor.
All right. All right. Well, before I move on to the next one, I'm going to tell you that Maddie, and I want to read this, she was promoted to interim HR generalist back on June 24th. And I got notification today that she had demonstrated the qualification for the position and encouraged her to keep working. But as of today, she's officially been promoted to our HR generalist. So with that, congratulations. I told her personally, yes. I reached out to her personally to tell her, I mean, her office demeanor is great. She's willing to help. And so congratulations publicly. And with that, do you have anything for us tonight?
I'm just really enjoying my time here so far.
Microphone.
Oh, where is it? I'm plenty loud.
For us old folks that have hearing aids.
Enjoying my time in the position already and excited to enact some more changes and get the ball rolling on some things. We are, as of August 12th, we're going to be fully staffed in Public Works, so that'll be exciting. We had a new, who was it today? It was sewer today, started. We have transportation starting Monday, and then our last water person starting on the 12th. So that's exciting. I think we only have open positions in police and dispatch, and then one in ambulance right now. Getting health fair stuff rolling for October. Our health fair is now going to be on October 31st. So extra spooky theme for you guys. But just excited to be doing things and working with all of you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, building official,
I'm
Ron
sure
White.
you're excited to work with us, and we really like working with you, too. She hit the ground running and has been doing a fantastic job for all of us staffers that rely on her. As we discussed and as you all directed during the strategic planning session, I wanted to give you an update on our archived files. Went back from that strategic planning session and discussed what we were going to do moving forward with Department Secretary Selena Franklin. She has hit the ground running, and over the last 2 weeks, she has archived 298 files, which equates to all of the 2008 permit files. So I think the goal that was discussed during that meeting, trying to get all of them archived by year-end 2025, I believe that's certainly possible, especially with who we've got fronting that. We will have the guys, as they have time, help out with the archive. And we go back to 1996. We do have some challenges because of what we have. We started with 2008. We're going according to the retention schedule, getting rid of those that we can get rid of the most paperwork on, and then moving forward. 2008, we started there because that is when we switched over to Tyler Technologies, and that's the program that we have the capabilities of storing those archives in that electronic file. Everything prior to that, thank you to, sorry, I saw you and Cole Bradbury's name's right in front of you, but I know your name is Tara.
Taking up too much space.
Tara has reached out to ICC, Laserfiche Avante system. Anyway, that is the system that we will use for all of the pre-Tyler technology from 1996 up to 2007. So we're looking forward to getting all that online and getting rid of all of our paper files and metal file cabinets. It's going to be quite an undertaking, but yeah, I don't see why we can't have it done. We're sure going to shoot for that year-end 2025. That's all I have for now.
Very good, thank you. Parks Director, Eric Gregory.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a few short things. As I'm sure the board's aware of, Ballparks National dropped off a letter on Monday morning stating that they would not be renewing the contract for leasing of the facilities at our city park for the baseball fields. So we will work with Mike Welty and our new city administrator on what direction we're going to go for here, whether that is back to business as usual with the parks team coordinating everything, or we pursue and send a bid out again and see if we can attract a like company for a similar arrangement. We also, well, and to add to that, we do plan on both parties finishing out the contract. So that will still run through October 31st. We do have a exciting potential partnership pending board approval for a possible dog park. But I will let Alderman Hoffman talk about that a little bit more whenever we get to his turn. I wanted to remind everybody listening that the Osage Beach Fishing Derby is scheduled for next Wednesday evening, August 7th, from 5 to 8 p.m. Park staff will be there. We will provide fishing poles. This is a program for kids 12 and under, free fishing event. Bring the family out. We provide hot dogs, snacks, chips, and fishing poles and bait. And we will be giving away prizes, fishing poles for kids and everything. It's a very good event. It'll be at City Park at the City Park Pond, and there's the pavilion. And other than that, the Parks team's been very hard at work maintaining the fields, slow pitch 3 nights a week. The weekend tournaments will not be going on in August simply because of the heat and everything, but starts back up September 1st, continues every weekend, September through October. And other than that, I just wanted to thank our new recreation specialist, Patience Arnall. She started with us last month, is doing an outstanding job, bringing a lot of fresh perspectives to the Parks Department, a lot of good ideas. So just want to compliment her on that. And with that, I have nothing else. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. City Engineer, Drew Bowman.
So yeah, I'm still getting on board. Recently learned that I am the floodplain manager for the city for the National Flood Insurance Agency. So
Congratulations.
Promoted
Thank
already?
you. Voluntold, I believe, is the term. So my apologies for missing the last meeting, but I was in Jeff City getting the SEMA training. So I feel like I'm now more dangerous because I know a little more. I'm starting to ask some hard questions about floodplain management. Also recently partnered with the Parks Department to submit a proposal. Again, we'll let Justin talk about that. But I feel like I was successful partnering with them, and I have like to state, I have nothing but great things to say about Patience. I've partnered with her. She brought a lot of fresh perspective to the drawings and concepts I was doing. And also been recently working with Maddie, and just a tremendous asset to have in the office, and I can't say enough things about her as well. So I feel like a lot of the newer employees are really meshing well together, and it's really great, the sense of community here at the office and at the building at the city. That's all I got right now.
Very good, thank you. Ty Densdale, Airport.
I have nothing to add to any of that. Sorry to say. Thank you.
Well, you said that very nicely. Thank you, Zach Wilbur.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to welcome Stephen Levitt, as she mentioned, our new sewer tech. He comes to us from Florida with a lot of panel and pump experience. I mean, it's just the opposite problem, high water table and flat land. So they got a lot of pumps and panels down there to move it along the way. I'd also like to congratulate Tommy and Caleb. They just tested and passed their DS3, their Water Distribution 3 licenses. So now they're officially DS3. Colton did the same thing, with the exception he has a DS3 along with his Treatment D license. I'd also like to congratulate John as well. He passed his backflow cert, so now he's backflow certified. So good training, good testing, and everybody's progressing really well down there. It's good things going on, so thank you.
Very good. Dave Van Leer, you have anything for Cochran?
Sure, thank you. Just real quick. This one working? We do plan on, talked with staff today, and one of the items that Cochran's currently working on is a master plan of the city's water system. We have, I guess, tentatively, or we're looking at doing a presentation to the board on September 19th to show you the findings of that study. So over the next month and a half or so, we'll be continuing to work with staff and based on the recommendations there. But the goal of this study will be that we lay out some kind of a short-term plan and a long-term plan showing the city what improvements will be needed to your water system immediately based on your current population and current water usage, and also projecting future water usage based on growth in the city and what that's going to mean to your system and what improvements will be needed as you continue to grow. One thing I would ask, if there's any specific concerns or evaluations you'd like to see done as part of the master study, please convey those to Mike or Drew or Zach or whoever's appropriate, and we'll make sure that's included. Obviously, our goal is that the study will be all-inclusive, and we'll cover everything, but if there's anything specific that anyone would like to see included, please let us know.
On that note, if I could ask real quick, how are we looking with the over at the school?
I'm sorry, what?
Over at the water system where you got the easement for the
Water
school.
loop project.
Yeah, the water loop.
I think they're just about ready, but we're going to wait a couple of months and probably bid that out in late fall.
Correct. Plans are ready to go. All the easements are in place. I'm just waiting for, I don't think now's the right time to bid, just based on being in the middle of summer and construction activity currently going on. So late fall, early winter, we'll be looking to get bids there and construction next year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any other questions on any projects, please just let us know.
Thank you, Dave. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, Maddie, thank you for this letter, for this email that outlined all the employee of the quarter. Not only giving us the information of who was the number one, but also making sure that we are aware of the other people that had a lot of good things that they did and just didn't receive it enough or weren't enough to get the top one, I could say. There's too many times we just hear about the number one, we don't hear about the other one. So thank you very much for that information, and congratulations to all of them that were nominated, specifically Sergeant Moeller. Is it Moeller, is that how it's pronounced? Morley, excuse me, Morley, for being the employee of the quarter. So thank you very much for that. Next is Drew. Also, just so you're aware, you're also the city traffic engineer by ordinance too.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Ordinance number 360.050, which tells you about that too, so.
Apparently, I have more reading to do.
Yes. And along with that, I also would like to say, I looked into Drew's job description, and I think we need to step up the plate and let him do a little bit more of his job. We're not allowing him to do his job because we are presently having our engineering firm go back to Mike, and they don't need to be going to Mike. According to the ordinances, they go to the city engineer. All engineer services that we have report to our city engineer. And I know we had it done that way when we didn't have a city engineer, but we do have one now. And I realize it's only been a month, but it's time that he be given all the things that he needs to be given, and why we can't turn all those reins over to him. I asked for that at the last meeting, and sooner rather than later, as far as I'm concerned, that needs to be done, because I think he can swim, and we need to let him start doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing, and including, looking over the bills that are being paid, or engineering bills that are being paid. Specifically, I would ask you to keep a very close eye on Anderson Engineering. I will tell you that that's an engineering firm that, as far as I'm concerned, has not performed to my satisfaction. They still have work to be done. They are the engineering firm that has done the Parkway extension, and I feel that there's been things that they've done that have caused us additional delays and additional cost. And I will be telling you that when the bills come in, this one here is only $395, okay? But I will be telling you, I will be scrutinizing and asking you to scrutinize those bills, because I don't think we need to, as far as I'm concerned, we don't need to pay them nothing. I'm done with them, because they have not performed, and they've given us an extreme amount of problems. And I'm sure if you're not aware of some of those, I'd be happy to visit with you, or Mike can give you some of that information. And so with that being said, I just welcome you aboard. I know you can do the job. I look forward to you being able to, and I think that we just need to give you the rope, and you're not going to hang yourself. You're going to do good. Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate the confidence. I don't have any firsthand personal experience with OWN, formerly Anderson Engineering. I do have several former colleagues that have given me numerous anecdotal accounts that mirror your concerns. And I'm working very closely with Mike right now with the number of projects that the city is. I feel like we're really lucky. We have a really great problem. We have numerous projects going on right now. And so the different facets of project management kind of demand a baton handoff. And so I'm working very closely with Mike. I do understand that, yeah, he should be able to probably focus on doing his job and not necessarily be the de facto project manager or city engineer. So yeah, we are working really closely together. He's showing me how the city does business, which is more than just pure engineering, obviously. And part of that is, yeah, looking at invoices, reviewing plans, communicating with the consultants, and also communicating with the different interested parties. I've had numerous interactions so far with and without Mike's help. I feel confident that I can eventually take 100% of that role on. And I do, again, I appreciate the confidence, and if you have any other further questions, anyone, I'd be more than happy to answer them here or at any other time. My door is always open, and if you are versed in Outlook at all, I try to make sure that my calendar is visible to everyone. If that's not the case, please let me know. So if you need to schedule a meeting with me, just send me a meeting invite, and I should be able to accommodate any of those requests.
All right. Alderman Barilla. Oh, did you have something, Maddie?
I will add on that we are looking at rounding out the engineering department. Me, Mike, and Drew have been talking about that, getting the GIS technician that he's slotted to have working under him in to help with all that workload.
Very good.
Along those, about the GIS tech, since you brought it up, I was going to ask about that anyway. Is it out for ever, is that position being
So I
advertised
currently
yet?
have a description written up, and Maddie's looked it over, I think. And I think we're good on the description, but I think, great, yeah, I'm sorry.
Ironing out those details, and we'll have that posted here soon, is the plan.
So soon, within a week? What
I would
would
say
you
that's
think?
realistic.
Pardon
We'll
me?
probably get it put up tomorrow.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Alderman Barilla.
I just want to say thank you, Ron. I think at our strategic meeting, we voiced a concern or something we thought, you know, for the files to be digitalized, and you've like hit the road running with that and are well on the way. So thank you, and just congratulations to Maddie on your promotion.
Alderman Hoffman.
A couple things, Mr. Mayor, before I hit the dog park. The board, where are we at with Gina's farewell? Is there a party scheduled? Who's headlining? Who's spearheading that? Does anyone know?
Well, there's, according to our bylaws, our ordinances and all that stuff, well, the city can't spend any money because she is not retiring. And believe me, her and I went round and round about it. And if anybody will make us follow the ordinances, she will.
True.
But the way the ordinances read, it's only when they retire, and she didn't retire. So the city could not put on a party. The city could not put on a reception. The city couldn't do any of that stuff and expend any of city money.
Wow. Well, this seemed to be something that we brought up at the strategic planning meeting, that we want to take care of our employees, whether they retired or hit a milestone, whatever it is. She is very deserving of that. I think that we need to find a way. I don't know what the answer is myself. I was kind of hoping to lean on Tara a little bit on this. Maybe she'd have an idea.
Well, that's a great idea, but it's never going to happen. She doesn't want anything. She just wants to slide out and be done, and
Well, if that's her wishes.
that
then-
is her wish.
Okay, well, then we can respect that.
Yep.
Sure. I too want to congratulate Drew and Maddie. Drew and I and Mike and Eric and Alderman Ross had a very long, productive meeting today. Drew was great. He conveyed engineering language to those of us who are not engineers well, so that we could understand it. So I appreciate that. Maddie, I haven't had any real interaction with you yet, but I am hearing nothing but great things. So that is it's very awesome to hear that we are moving forward, and congratulations on the position. You seem to have taken the bull by the horns, so well done. The Outlet Mall, I believe, is under contract? No? Yes? Have we
We're in
heard?
discussions. Things
Yes.
are in discussions. Nothing's final.
Nothing is final yet. Okay. Just thought I'd kind of bring that out, into the public a little bit if we could. I don't know exactly where it's at, but.
Nothing is final.
Okay.
I've heard otherwise.
I have too. That's why I was kind of confused. I was hoping somebody would give me an answer right there. Obviously, what I'm thinking is down the road, we need to start thinking about what their process is going to be. Is that going to include a TIF? So I just think it should be on our radar a little bit. And lastly, yes, Eric and I have been working rather diligently with a representative from Lowe's, the regional VP out of St. Louis. He and his team have essentially agreed to donate a considerable amount of equipment, and largely fencing and concrete installation, amounting to about $50,000. And the plan is to use the first field down by the new bathrooms, I guess. Is it? Third field? Okay, yeah, third one down. The positive on that is that if we ever want to change it into pickleball courts or soccer fields or whatever, rather easy to move forward, and move the dog park. But the dog park is something I think is greatly needed here in Osage Beach. And the reason that Eric and I have been pushing so hard to try and get this done quickly, twofold. We really want to launch it with the Fall Festival. We think it brings an added bonus to the Fall Festival. And number two, we don't want to lose our partner, so while we've got the opportunity, we really want to jump on it. So, Eric, do you have anything to add to that?
Only that we have a conference call with Lowe's to discuss logistics next week, and it'll be added at our next Board of Aldermen meeting as a discussion item for the board's approval.
It'll have to be added as a motion because there's going to be some funds that'll have to be expended from the city side, and it is not a budgeted item. But I think Alderman Hoffman's right. This is going to be something that is going to be very positive. I think the board's going to love it. But we're going to have all that put together thanks to all the work that Drew did at the next meeting.
Great.
While we're on it, I would like to thank Drew for all his help. He jumped in and designed a couple of proposals and scope of work, and we sent it off to Lowe's, and they came back and agreed to it. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think this would be an outstanding addition to City Park and very, very popular for the public. But again, to the next meeting.
Yeah, and so the Lowe's representative will actually be here in 2 weeks so that you can ask any questions that you'd like. I was hoping that we could put this in as a first reading in some capacity rather than a discussion piece, only because we are a little crunched for time to accomplish our October 12th goal. But again, and the Lowe's people down here that work at this Lowe's are very excited to be involved with it. So I think this is just a big win for us. But that being said, I thank you, Mike and Drew, for all of the help you've given on this. And that's it.
Alderman Brill has something.
I'm excited for the dog park, but I do have a question. Is there a reason that we're not looking at the Phoenix Park on 42 versus the Osage Beach Park for it?
I'll let Eric handle that.
Soccer Field 3, per our master plan, was kind of left as a blank space because we weren't exactly sure what we were going to do with it. Per the master plan, which again is a guide, it's not set in stone, they recommended Soccer Field 1 as a large parking lot, Soccer Field 2 to be turned into a baseball field at some point to add to our already 3 fields to host larger tournaments. This is a fairly non-complex project that we feel like we can make use of that space better. I know the master plan did say something about dog park in Phoenix Park, but I feel like in the next few years, we need to leave that alone, especially if we move forward with the improvements on Field 1, splash pad, et cetera, which we'll be discussing in the near future. So I feel it's a better use of the space. It's going to be very popular. I'm there every day. I interact. We have a lot of people walking dogs, and unfortunately, there's a dog park at Four Seasons for their residents, and there's one behind our veterinary in Lynn Creek. That's, it is what it is. So this is very much needed.
Yeah, it's going to have cabanas in it. There's going to be shaded areas. There's going to be obstacle courses in it, and I was a big supporter of moving it from Phoenix over to City Park just because I think this is something that makes our actual city park more attractive to people. So, I would like to see the city park improve before Phoenix, and since the splash pad's going over there, the splash pad and the dog park really, if I was going out there with my son and my dog, well, I would only be going to the dog park. You don't take the dog with you if you go to the splash pad. So I don't think that they necessarily need to line up. And I just think you go down there now, you see people walking around with their dogs on that field anyway. So I think it's a really good use of space.
Very good.
Well, it also, though there was a couple of us at least that were really, really wanting that baseball field, at least one field to stay at
Yes.
Phoenix. And this would allow that to still have a baseball field there at that end of the town.
Correct.
Very good. Alderman Osteen.
A few comments this evening. First of all, Zach, I would like you to relay congratulations on behalf of the board to all of your employees that completed additional training and certification. My second one, and this is something I have reiterated over a few years. Once in a while, I drag this one out of the closet again. But it's just to remind everybody that an effective board is comprised of bringing individuals together that although they may have differences of opinions, different perspectives, or different approaches, are all working towards a common goal. Just because we may not always have the same voices and opinions does not mean we don't respect them. That is how good governing works. My last comment, and I was hesitant on stating this, and it's very last minute, but I just want to remind the board that we should be very cognizant of saying comments regarding single individuals or businesses while sitting on the dais, because that can be construed as defamation or slander. That's all.
All right. Alderman Rose.
I guess I better watch what I'm saying. First of all, I'd like to reiterate the employee of the quarter, Sergeant Travis Morley. I heard you mention it. Congratulations on behalf of the board. And also looking forward to working with Maddie and Drew. I hear very good things, as someone already commented about both of you, and so I think we're blessed to have you on our staff. And other than that, the street department, little sweeper's been out there and doing a heck of a job, and I was so impressed on the Parkway, and then today they were on my road, on Jeffries Road, and they're just really doing a super job. So I wanted to thank them for that. And other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you much. Alderman Ross.
Well, I want to reiterate also congratulations to Sergeant Morley. When your peers and so forth pick you, that's a pretty big deal. And I'm glad we continue to utilize that method of recognition. I think there's a lot more that we can utilize also. In that vein, I would say that I spent an hour with Maddie and then probably almost 2 hours with Drew in what I call meet and greets, and I was very impressed. And welcome and thank you for being here. I think you guys are going to bring a breath of fresh air, a great new view on things, and I think that I'm looking forward to some great things from you all. So, I'm sorry, I got one other thing on my list, I think, and all I will say on the Gina comment, I'm glad that she gets her wishes. But whatever we need to do, and I don't know who needs to spearhead it, but I'll be glad to if that's what needs to happen. But the fact that we can't throw a party for someone that's been here for 22 years, that needs to change.
Yep, agreed.
And what does it say to folks that might be here for 8 years, or might be here 8 years right now, and thinking about whether or not it's worth staying for 22 or 25? Do they really appreciate anybody that lasts that long? That's what my concern is. So I really don't care. I don't know whose place it is. Mayor, you can decide if you want any of my help, but I think that there's fairly, I think everybody on this board agrees that needs to change. Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
Okay. So with that, I'll move on. That's all I have.
All right. I do have a couple of things. You stole my thunder with Sergeant Morley, because I too wanted to congratulate him, and I don't know if you had a chance to read what he has done, but outside of the work that he does here, I wanted to read a little bit of it, because he continues to go beyond volunteering. He volunteers for the Mid-County Dive Team, First Responders Stress Support Team, Special Olympics, the athletes, he coaches them. He does, just very, very good person, good officer, and so, and he was our employee of the quarter two, and congratulations. So you see him out and about, tell him thank you, and Lieutenant Taylor, do extend the congratulations. It's on and off duty, what a just quality guy. So, all right, the other thing I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on, and I don't know if Alderman Osteen's comment was directed to me or not, but I'm not going to mention names.
It wasn't you.
But I do want to talk a little bit about the termination of the contract with Ballpark Nationals and our city park, because for the history, and this is more for people at home, because you probably all know that here. I don't know, when I first took office, a representative from Ballpark National contacted me and said, hey, I'd talked to the city before and nobody really had any interest in doing this. And I met with them, brought on one of our first meetings with Mike and Eric, and it was met with cool response. There were a lot of things that need to be worked out, and I pressed. I thought it'd be good. So I was very instrumental, and the board went for it and thought we had a good thing. All right. So I just wanted the people to know that I have 100% confidence in our Parks Department. They've been running ball tournaments out there, baseball, softball, concessions, all sorts of things, and we've been doing it forever. I got a pretty nasty email on my phone email, a voicemail that said, I read in the paper how they're not going to have ball teams out there anymore, and give me a call back. I want to discuss this. Well, I called him back, and he didn't answer. So I texted him, didn't answer. So with that being said, I just wanted to clear the air for the contract is being blamed on me for them terminating it, and that's fine. I'm a big boy, I can take it. But just so you know, I did write a letter to the editor, those that don't know, about Mr. Vanetti and the problem I had of some misappropriations of federal funds, and it was to him specifically. It was not Ballpark Nationals, it was not the organization we had. And as we know here on the board, there's times we agree on things and times we don't. And most of the time, you can disagree on something and be on different ends of the spectrum. But then next thing comes up, which is the common good, and you can put bygones by bygones, and you vote in favor of the common good. So I kind of view this like this. It was said that the reason they were canceling the agreement was because of unfounded attacks that I had made to a business and an integrity. Well, I didn't. I made factual comments on one individual based on a different matter that prior to me sending the letter to the editor out, I sent it to boards that were privy to this information. And I said, I sent it to our city attorney. I said, please make sure this information is accurate before I send it to the news agencies. And it was 100% accurate. The unfunded attacks, I'm being told that I'm making unfounded attacks, but yet nobody's corrected me on what those attacks are. Nobody has said, you said this, Mayor. It's not true. This is what really happened. It's just you're making unfounded attacks. I have talked to one of the owners. He did not agree with this decision. I find it interesting, too, that the termination letter writes that the partnership was very successful, meaning our partnership at the city park. It was financially successful for all. It drastically improved the youth and sports adults program in the community. But yet, because I said something that he didn't like, he cancels everything that's so good for everybody in the community. Very interesting. I'll just leave it at that. The point being is that we thought we had a pretty good thing going, but it is what it is. We have other people that are already involved in possibly taking it over, at least part of it. Our staff can do it. I think it was a learning process. We intentionally, as a board, and entered into a one-year agreement because we didn't want to lock ourselves in for long term. Well, we did have 1 year. It's going to terminate, and then we'll put the park staff department. We'll look at other possibilities going out and about. But what it all comes down to is, folks, is just I wanted people at home to know, and I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate the boards. I've received emails from several of you supportive of what I've written, the facts. I've received texts, voicemails, emails from uncounted people in the community that said, thank you for speaking the truth, Mayor. I support you 100%. I don't have a vested interest in any of this. I don't have any personal vendettas. I was just simply speaking the truth, and I'm not going to apologize, but it is sad that what could have been good was canceled because one person didn't like me writing the truth. So that's unfortunate, but I can tell the people here in Osage Beach that the parks are continuing to offer the events out there. We're going to move forward. We've been doing it forever. We've only been a partnership with them for a few months, and then we'll look at Plan B. If either that or we'll go back to Plan A like we had last year. Alderman Rucker.
I would just like to follow up to the folks that are listening out there so that you, if you do want to have a complete history of what went down, what the mayor is talking about as far as the letter that was written to the city is public knowledge. And if anybody would like to see that, because I'm sure a number of people have read the paper, but if they want to read what the mayor is talking about there, that is open. It's a letter, it's public knowledge, and so they can request a copy of that letter so that they have a complete history of everything for themselves.
Thank you very much. And my phone's open. I'm online. I mean, you can Google me. I'll be happy to talk to you. I just wanted people to know that that's the facts as they are. And Alderman Ross, did you have something?
I have something, and that is I have been disappointed with the local media for the fact that the Department of Economic Development, after financial review, and you can read the letter if you'd like, and that's exactly what it says, terminated a grant. And I have asked as many people as I can ask if they've ever heard of a grant being terminated. Well, one, they haven't ever heard of it being terminated, and secondly, because of after a financial review. That's what started all this, but yet that part's not been covered. Mike, or Mr. Mayor, tried to bring some of that out in his letter to the editor, and I've tried to talk to one of the media outlets, and the editor's on vacation, so I couldn't. But I just feel like that's newsworthy. This is probably one of the biggest grants that the Lake area has received since the city got a grant for, I think was a grant for the sewer system, okay? And the fact that that grant was terminated after a financial review says something. And I'm sure other people, you can read through the lines, do whatever you want, but those are facts. And that letter has never been produced. Anybody wants a copy, my phone number is online. You can call me, I'll get you a copy. Send me an email, whatever you want to do. But those facts remain, and those facts have not been reported. And I just find that very disappointing. I'll leave it at that.
Well, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate the support from the public out there, and I just wanted to clear the air that, and if somebody wants to tell me what I've said that's not factual, please let me know. But at this point in time, it's just that I've been saying things that are not factual. Well, let me know what's not factual. I'll leave you with this, and I actually posted it on my Facebook page today, and you can go look at it because there's people put funny little clips pretty much whenever I say anything. But I will leave you with this, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that somebody said one time, stand up and speak for the truth, especially when it's not popular. Mm-hmm. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alderman Ross. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you so much.